Air live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. at 106.1 FM. Pan-Hellenic News, radio program from the Pan-Hellenic Federation of Florida. Wednesday at 4 p.m. Good news, entertainment and culture.
Για νέα και για τον ελληνισμό. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι.
Stay tuned.
Calling all radio enthusiasts with storm claims and legal questions. Us every Saturday at 2 p.m. on WTAN FM 106.1 and AM 1340 for Legal Candy with attorney Candace Colucci. She's your guide to hurricane-related issues, property insurance law, and more sizzling legal topics. Get ready for a lively legal experience. Make your Saturday sweet with Legal Candy on WTAN FM 106.1 and AM 1340.
Hello, this is the one and only Robbie the Shark. I want to welcome you to the new program, All Groovy, man. I just want a bunch of folks in front of my porch. Let's have a Coca-Cola, a sweet tea, or whatever your drinking flavor is, and let's just talk about life and how far we've come. It's on the only 1340 WTAN 10 Talk Radio Network.
It's All Groovy with Robbie the Shark, Thursdays from 8 to 9 p.m. Listen at your own risk.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bones. A mind that's weak and a back that's strong. You load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons, a number 9 coal, and the straw boss said, well, to bless my soul, you load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed shall dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms in which they are accustomed. My name is Don Hackett Jr. I'm a 35-year constitutionally qualified declared candidate for President of the United States. If you look in Article 2, Section 1, 5th paragraph, it says natural-born citizen over the age of 35. But these two multi-million-dollar bribe-taking political cartels, I call it a ruling cabal, have decided in 1994, Newt Gingrich declared a Republican revolution. And 1995, USA Today Gannett came out, purchased state government of Michigan from Governor Engler for $40 million to bring in police and wage war against unions at the Detroit newspaper paper printing plant on Mound Road in Sterling Heights, Michigan. I was at a meeting in the basement of the Episcopal Church on the corner of Telegraph and Cherry Hill, And one of the guys said, we're going to shut them down. I said, well, that's good with me because I don't like the idea of violent mercenary armed class war by police state unions against private unions. And so I drove my big blue van up to Mound Road opposite the Detroit newspaper printing plant and parked it there and said on 3 sides of my van, Don Hackett Jr. for President USA, Democrat of, by, and for just people on 3 sides of my van. I passed out literature advocating constitutional republic. One of USA Today Gannett's Nazi stormtroopers read my press release, and then he came up to the side of my van and said, start the van and drive it towards the left side there. And it was the most photographed political kidnapping of the 20th century. I was never given credit for who I was and why I was there. I was there to advocate constitutional republic in the face of a violent declared revolution. At all times, the Republican Revolution has been pretty much violent and anti-law, putting this criminal Donald Trump up as a candidate for president of the United States. I really liked what Kamala Harris said about Donald Trump, the criminal. He had this college called Trump University. He had to pay millions of dollars back to the people who bought the time at the Trump University because it was a fraud. He frauded the state of New York, overestimating the value of his property to gain good feeling for himself, and underestimating the value of his property for tax purposes. And of course, he was convicted of 34 felony counts. This is a man who can't vote for himself because he's a convicted felon, but he wants to be president of the United States. And the whole idea of the Republican Revolution is that big dollars rule and just people go to jail. And you just can't face armed revolution of the Republican political party and get out of it with any recognition that you stood up to them. So I yelled. There were about 100, Nazi stormtrooper jackbooted thugs on the left with their riot gear, and there were about 100 radio and television antennas on the left and the rear, and about 100 strikers on the right. The most photographed political kidnapping of the 20th century. But they never said who I was. And they used my picture in a commercial saying, "Stop the violence, let there be peace," without my permission. I'd like to have that television commercial rebroadcast with an explanation who I was and why I was advocating constitutional republic to a declared revolution. So that was one of the times that I was arrested for advocating constitutional republic. The other time was in the matter of Citizens United. Citizens United was a ruling that corporations and those with too much money have absolutely right to free speech. And just people, human individuals actually described in all of the founding documents, do not exist and can't have political existence, rights, or voice. I went to the Unitarian Church on Nursery Road in Clearwater on January 24th, 2010, 3 days after the Citizens United ruling came out, and I wore my shirt that said Don from Largo.com on the front and Rated Subhuman on the front and Don from Largo.com on the back. I stayed in the public spaces, the big public space in the middle of the church, and went over to a place and sat down. And then when I left, there was a Clearwater cop standing there. And he said, "Let me see your ID." I said, "I believe you're discriminating against me because you can't stay on my website, donfromlargo.com. These other people who advocate Tommy Hilfiger or Ralph Lauren or Nike or Reebok, corporatocracy, They're leaving peacefully. But because you can't stand somebody advocating constitutional republic, you're discriminated against me. And he says, I'm going to arrest you. And they did. They took me to Republican Sheriff Jim Coates' jail on 49th Street in Clearwater, Florida. I stood on the mark and faced the camera and said, I need a constitutional law lawyer capable of carrying a case to the U.S. Supreme Court, because I suspected that the reason why I was arrested was because I advocated constitutional republic. You can't do that in the top dollar Fourth Reich. The top dollar Fourth Reich came into effect in 1971 with Richard Nixon, a B&E Republican specialist. The federal election law of 1971 eliminates constitutional requirements for the office of President of the United States and substitute what's the size of your money pile. Have you taken bribes? Are you incorporated? I only had about $5,000 possible to spend on my campaign, so I was put in a class, subhuman class with dogs and children. And I've been motivated and maintaining and filing cases in federal court ever since, saying, look in the Constitution, see what it says. It doesn't say the peasants have no political existence, but that's the rule that we live under. The peasants can't have political existence, rights, or voice. The Republican Revolution was declared in 1994, and we've had nothing but more examples of those who take bribes, like Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito and Donald Trump. He wanted to sell a $1 billion tax break to the oil companies in exchange for $1 billion campaign contribution. He was expert at bankrupting companies at least 7 times. One of my passengers told a story about someone who was owed $290,000 by Donald Trump, and Donald Trump went bankrupt. He had 10 children, and he committed suicide, because he put in hard work for the Trump master, and then he was stiffed, totally destroying his concept of good life or whatever, you know what I mean? I imagine there's other people who also suffered from Donald Trump thinking only for himself and against his employees. So Sheriff Jim Coates, a Republican, sent me to the Pinellas Emergency Mental Health Services, now called the Personal Enrichment Mental Health Services, because they viewed 09-14477-E a danger to myself and others. That is, because I filed a case with the U.S. Supreme Court, they asked for amicus briefs. I wrote an amicus brief. I paid a filing fee at the Tampa Federal Court, and mailed it to the Atlantic District Court of Appeals in Atlanta, and the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Solicitor General of the U.S. Supreme Court. I've always filed cases against the Federal Election Commission, the Democrat and Republican National Committee, and now I need to get with Common Cause and American Civil Liberties Union, and maybe John Morgan. He's a Republican, but maybe he can look in the Constitution and knows how to read, Does it say have millions of dollars in bribes and just people are peasants with no he might understand that. I saw him on TV in channel 37, which is the Fox News network, defending the idea that just people don't exist. I don't believe John Morgan's right about that. I think he should change his mind. Look in the Constitution, see what it says. It doesn't say go to jail, go to psychiatric prison if you advocate constitutional republic of, by, and for the people. So that's my story. I believe I'm the only constitutionally qualified declared candidate for president of the United States who stood up to violent mercenary armed forces and advocated constitutional republic. I'm the only one who was refused legal counsel at Pinellas Jail. I'm the only one who was sent to psychiatric prison overnight. In the morning, Dr. Corso, a psychiatrist at PEMHS, opened the file and said, "What's this 09-14477-E?" I said, "That's a case I filed with the U.S. Supreme Court, an amicus brief." The Supreme Court asked for an amicus brief. I gave them one. Now, I don't know whether the Supreme Court actually received that amicus brief, but I did my dead little best. There's probably some kind of ruling that a human being who's affected by the revolution can't file a case. You have to be a legal counsel to file a case. And the human individual described in the Constitution, that's my wild guess. That's my wild guess. That's why I didn't have any traction, because I was only a human being affected by the law, not a lawyer, capable of bringing the case in court. I don't have much else to say. I've said everything I want to say already. I believe we should get out of the idea that only those who have way too much money, take bribes, and are incorporated can have political existence, rights, and voice. We have to have a political system based on human individuals described in the U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, 5th paragraph, have political existence, rights, and voice. Let's see, I'm out of stuff to say. That's all I want to say. I buy this airtime. If you want copies of my my dissertation, it's about 15 pages long with references to the cases filed, 821 CV 01011-SDM-CPT, Defendant Democratic National Committee, Republican National Committee, Federal Election Commission, and the Federal Election Law of 1971. I would get letters every election cycle, every 4-year election cycle. I would file a case with the, I would file my candidacy with the Federal Election Commission, Democrat Republican National Committee, Detroit Free Press, and the Tampa Bay Times. And every election cycle, they sent me a letter saying, "We see no violation of the act." The act being a federal election law of 1971. My theory, I believe my sound theory is that the federal election law of 1971 is totally anti-constitutional, deliberately, malignantly, with malice and forethought, totally anti-constitutional, geared to one idea: the peasants don't have political existence, rights, or voice. So since 1994, that all about purchasing government. Somebody purchased Clarence Thomas, somebody Clarence Samuel Alito, 2 Supreme Court justices. One human being with lots of money purchased this vice president candidate of Donald Trump. I don't know his name, the person who purchased him, but it used to be that you had to limit your campaign contributions to $2,500 per election cycle. Not anymore. Not anymore. Do whatever I say, and you will have a free ride to life. I don't think it's a good idea. My address is 1001 Starkey Road, lot 725, Largo, Florida, 33771. If you want a copy of the court dossiers and the pictures of my van, I had this big van with writing on the side. At least once a week, I drove from Michigan to Florida to Maine to San Diego in this van, advertising constitutional republic. But it's against the law in the United States to advocate constitutional republic. You can only advocate big bucks rule, just people do can't have any political existence, rights, or voice. I think it's wrong. Now, the Democrat political party is saying, oh, all you have to do is get 600 signatures and you can be recognized as a candidate. But during all those years when I was declaring, it wasn't like that at all. The Pinellas Democrat Executive Committee told me to sit down and shut up. The St. Petersburg Democrat Club refused to let me speak. The Mary Lou Ambrose of the Mid-Pinellas Largo Democrat Club refused to let me speak. Rich Piper, the first, I think it was Dr. Rich Piper, the first chairman of the Largo Democrat Club, would always let me advocate constitutional republic. But Mary Lou Ambrose couldn't handle advocating constitutional republic. Had to have the top dollar Fourth Reich. Who has millions of dollars to purchase? It seems to me that as things have changed, we no longer have exclusive rights based on you got to give millions of dollars to USA Today, Gannett, and all of their affiliates under different names, or Rupert Murdoch and all of his affiliates under different names. If you can't give millions of dollars to the anti-labor media corporations, you don't exist. Go to jail. Psychiatric prison. They kept me just overnight and let me go the next day. Dr. Corso at PEMHS didn't think that filing a case with the U.S. Supreme Court in response to a request for cases by, regarding the Citizens United ruling that came out as corporations and those with too much money have absolute rights to create the public mind. There was no mention of the fact that I filed the amicus brief saying, look in the Constitution, see what it says. My guess is it made it to the circular file. But I documented over and over again that it was sent, filed at the district court in Tampa, mailed to the Atlantic Court of Appeals. That's where the case number 09-14477-E was given to it. My address is 1001 Starkey Road, Largo, Florida, 33771. I have about 15 pages of documents with arguments saying, look in the Constitution, see what it says. There's no need to run a multi-million-dollar bribe-taking political corporations must have total power and control over a peasant population. Now that there's a world government that's been established saying the peasants who are described in the Constitution but are denied political existence, rights, and voice can be harvested by multi-million-dollar corporations all over the world. I think there's about 7 corporations advertising Hyundai or Toyota or BMW or Lexus versus about 1 United States corporation, because the world government has been established on the same premise that the United States revolution came about. We don't exist. We're subhuman. It started in 1994. It's 2:28. I'm going to go till about 2:57, and then Ed's going to play Dream the Impossible Dream. And the impossible dream that I have is that we stop the top dollar Fourth Reich. The Democrat Party is now advertising that you could be a candidate with 600 signatures. This has never been my experience. The only experience I've had is sit down, shut up. You can't advocate constitutional republic at Democrat meetings. You can only go with the top dollar Fourth Reich. Who's the multi-million-dollar bribe-taking political corporations that are put down on you from some other level? I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I recently was riding my bicycle. I like to ride my bicycle standing up. I'd gone swimming, so I put my bathing trunks on and put my shorts on the left-hand side of the bike over by the mirror. And so I was standing up pedaling, and I think what happened was the shorts worked their way down the handlebars towards the center of the bike and got stuck in the spoke, and that brought me over the handlebars onto the concrete on my head. I had water on the brain or blood on the brain, internal bleeding on the brain, scars on my nose that are still healing. And for some reason, my pee stopped working. So I have a bag on and a stent in the end of my penis. I feel like a totally diminished human being. Moral is, get yourself some saddlebags and don't hang things from your handlebars when you ride your bicycle. I live in Paradise Island in Largo, Florida. It's a pretty nice place. Today they're going to be playing pill pool. I like to shoot pool, but I'm not getting as good at it as I want to. I'm not religiously doing 3 racks a day, 3 racks of pool balls a day, but I do try to do it some of the time. And the extreme physical exercises, swimming pool laps, freestyle one way and butterfly backstroke the other way, and sissy push-ups on the pool railings and really deep knee bends. It's not something I ought to do for at least until I see my primary doctor on the 30th, so he can tell me what the heck's the story. The call-in number is 727-441-3000, 727-441-3000. I've continuously filed cases against the Federal Election Commission, the Democrat and Republican National Committee, and filed those cases with the Detroit Free Press and the Tampa Bay Times. It's not necessary now that the internet's matured to automatically determine in advance that just people do not exist and can't have political existence, rights, or voice. So if you could call in 727-441-3000 and rescue me from myself. I'm running into an empty space here. I have nothing else to say, and it happens this way every time. It's just a simple idea. Look in the Constitution, see what it says. Does it say violent mercenary armed class war? Does it say a convicted criminal of fraud and different kinds of things, sexual aggression, is entitled to be a candidate for president of the United States, but he can't vote for himself because he's a convicted felon? Is that what it says? I don't think so. The whole idea is those who take bribes, big bribes, from particular Republican campaign contributors have rights, and just people don't. J.D. Vance is the vice president who took significant bribes from one person to maintain his position in life. Hillbillyology was his book. And of course, Donald Trump is Donald Trump, a multifaceted convicted criminal, sexual aggression, fraud on the Trump University, fraud on hiding money for the election of 2020. I'd like to get back to Inkster, Michigan, to pick up my Snark sailboat. My daughter and I launched it at a pond on 119th, and when it went off the ramp into the water, the fitting that holds the rudder hit and got ripped loose. So I have to get next to that boat and fix that fitting on the back of the boat so I can bring it back for the winter. Chances are they won't be using it much in Michigan after September, if I can get it fixed. Get some Loctite and screws and put the Loctite on, and then put some screws in with Loctite, and it'll probably be okay if they haven't lost the assembly from the back. I have about 22 descendants, 4 children, wives, husbands, grandkids, great-grandkids. I'm not viewed as a criminal by them. I am viewed as mentally ill by just about everybody, because in this country, you can't take the law too seriously. You have to accept that you don't exist. If the law says you're subhuman and you don't exist, you have to accept the fact that that's what the Federal Election Law of 1971 is. The top dollar Fourth Reich exists, just people do not exist. It's probably 95 degrees outside. I probably won't be sailing at the Clearwater Community Sailing Center with this bag on my leg with catching pee. It doesn't. It's not very pretty kind of a thing. Got these about 15 pages of documents filed with the U.S. District Court in Tampa over the years, beginning in 2021, 2001 onward, always bringing charges against the Federal Election Commission and the Federal Election Law of 1971. They kept sending me letters saying, we see no violation of the act, but I say the act is a violation of the U.S. Constitution by saying that it was true in 1971 when Nixon signed the top dollar Fourth Reich federal election law that you would have had to reach all those markets. But now the possibility of human individuals reaching the entire population is much greater. If they didn't automatically say, you're subhuman, you don't exist, you're mentally ill because you advocate constitutional republic. Top dollar Fourth Reich is the only form of government that can be advocated. And now there's a world government based on the same premise. Peasants are subhuman, charge them a lot of money, overcharge them, it doesn't matter because they have no political existence, rights, or voice. Okay, it's 2:37. We're on tantalk1340.com or tantalknetwork.com, 106.1 FM or 1340 AM, Clearwater, Florida. We're about 3 blocks from the Intracoastal Waterway, Seminole Boat Docks, and I'm hoping I can get my snark back. It's an 11-foot plastic sailboat with styrofoam in the middle, and sail it here in the wintertime. That and or join the Clearwater Community Sailing Center again. I'm supposed to get this baggie off my thigh pea catcher around August 16th. I have to go through a lot of tests to find out whether it's okay for the advanced urology clinic to do that. They've been trying to do the Roto-Rooter for a long time, and now I'm thinking that I got nothing to lose. Let me just have my dignity and my dignity back. Let me have normal pee. What a long word. I'm just a lonely boy, lonely and blue. All that I want is someone like you. Down to the end of Lonely Street to Heartbreak Hotel. I'd be so lonely, baby. I'd be so lonely I could die. So I got nothing to say, folks. I've said it all. Federal election law in 1971 eliminated the United States Constitution and they rated me subhuman as in with dogs and children in 1987 when I first declared. There was an article in Star magazine on all the grocery store shelves at checkout. The article was, "Look who's running for president." There was a picture of me and my pickup truck that said Don Hackett Jr. for president, USA, Democrat and/or Republican. And then there were also people like dogs and children and chimpanzees who were in the same classification. December 15th, 1987, page 14 and 15. It's in the federal court record. I filed it in the federal court record. Karen Finucane of the Federal Election Commission explained, we rate these people subhuman as in with dogs and children based on the amount of the money they have. It was true in 1971 or 1987 when I declared that you would have to reach millions of dollars to advocate in every possible market. Now the Democrats are saying, oh, you could get 600 signatures and be recognized as a candidate. I never heard that. The only thing I heard from the Pinellas Democratic Executive Committee and the St. Pete Democrat Club and the Greater Pinellas Democrat Club and the Largo, Mid-Florida Largo Democrat Club was, you can't advocate constitutional republic. You're only a human being described in the U.S. Constitution. Well, they need to stop that act. That act has to come to a halt. I'm going to probably file some more papers just to see if what they say is true, that you could get 600 signatures and become a candidate. I saw it on TV, but I don't know it to be true. Where, oh, where has my little dog gone? Oh, where can he be? With his tail cut short and his ears cut long. Oh, where can he be? I'm an empty suit. I may want to be rebel with a cause. My cause, I think, is just, but the Republican Revolution says I do not have a right to advocate constitutional republic to declared to an army of a declared revolution. September 1995, 1 year after the Republicans declared the revolution. Newt Gingrich declared the revolution in 1994, then in 1995, violent mercenary armed class war. Unionized police were using clubs and gas. The National Rifle Association said the jackbooted thugs were coming, and they came. They kicked and gassed and electroshocked Union people. Unionized police were used to destroy labor unions at the Detroit newspapers. And then in January 24th, 2010, I wore my Don from Largo.com on the back of my shirt and rated subhuman on the front of my shirt to the Unitarian Church on Nursery Road. When I walked out of the church, police were waiting for me, demanding that I show them ID. And I said, I respectfully disagree with your need to arrest me. I couldn't keep going because they're blocking my path. I feel you are unnecessarily discriminating against me based on my website that advocates constitutional republic. These other people advocating world government, Tommy Hilfiger, Nike, Reebok, Ralph Lauren, advocating world government in church is okay, but not advocating constitutional republic, you go to jail. It's 2:45 and I'm dying here. You need to call 727-441-3000, 727-441-3000 and say anything. You might say, Trump is God. Trump is God. Yeah, he had a fraudulent university. Yeah, he falsified his records to avoid taxes in New York State. Yeah, he was told people that sexual aggression by rich, famous people was okay, and then he did it and got caught. Yeah, he had 34 counts of hiding his campaign assets. But he's Donald Trump. He's above the law. He can go bankrupt 7 times and people commit suicide because they don't get paid due to his bankruptcy. I disagree that Donald Trump is God. Seven 441-3000. What do you do for fun? When I get my my pee back, I'll probably go back to sailing at the Clearwater Community Sailing Center. I'd like to go up to Inkster, Michigan, get my snark and fix the back end of it so that the rudder will be assembled. Way down south in the land of cotton, old times there are not forgotten. Look away, Dixieland. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is stamping out the brantage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Concerns grow over Vice President Harris' record as California Attorney General. I mean, she read the riot act on that criminal, Donald Trump. He's a convicted criminal 4 different ways. Only thinking about one idea. Push the money in his pocket, don't pay his employees, people commit suicide. 727-441-3000. My address is 1001 Starkey Road, lot 725, Largo, Florida, 33771. I have about 20 pages of documents regarding cases I filed in federal court and some pictures of a big van I used to own. It'd be a $50 campaign contribution, but I don't know if I'm going to keep running. If when I investigate, there's a way for a regular human being, normal human being, to have political existence like the Democrats are now saying, then I don't have a leg to stand on. But it was never true when I was declared and declaring. It was always, shut up, don't talk, we'll call the police at the Democrat Party here in Pinellas County. They can't handle rank and file with political voice. So I got 10 more minutes to die here. I'm going to read the Declaration of Independence again. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. So we got two non-elected officials, George W. Bush, they said, don't count the votes, our guy wins. And Donald Trump lost the election and appointed three Supreme Court justices. Supreme Court justices are all involved with feathering their nest with direct contributions from Republican campaign contributors. Donald Trump's vice president is totally beholden to some wealthy person who set him up in life so that he can serve the wealthy campaign contributor. It used to be a limit of $2,500 of contributions per election cycle. Now, Donald Trump's vice president, J.D. Vance, is getting a golden chariot from a campaign, from a patron. Royalty. Trump says he's above the law. Trump says it doesn't matter, all the stuff he's done, all the crimes he's committed, all the bankruptcies he's caused people to lose their houses and their jobs, their families. So we got 2:51 and 01 seconds. Nothing to say, nothing to do. A long time to get there. I'm retired. I have a good income. If I didn't give money away to damsels in distress, I could keep my money. I've been pretty good at not giving money away this cycle. I get my Social Security check today and my UAW Ford check on the 1st. Then Northwest Airlines check on the about the same time. I run Uber because it's just an interesting thing to do. You get to see places and do things you've never seen before. Sometimes you hear little shots of life, what kind of struggle folks are in. It beats laying on your back and channel surfing. Doesn't pay much. Uber takes more than half the money. I'd like them to show on the screen how much the passenger's paying and how much the driver's getting. We have to supply the car, the insurance, the gas, wear and tear on the car, and a computer, also known as a cell phone, to have ourselves routed. I'd like to see two things posted: the money the passenger's paying and the money the driver gets. I think it works out to about $15 before gas, if you're lucky. I'd have to do a real study on it to see how much it is if you're having a good day where there's no breaks between runs. I have runs that pay $3.35, and the passenger might be paying $8. Lyft, I'm not currently right with Lyft. I showed them my registration for good till 2025, and they're going to take some time to evaluate it, and they haven't got back to me yet. So if I get discharged from Lyft from Uber they don't discharge you, they just wouldn't give you any runs for asking to recognize the difference between the driver who supplies the car, the insurance, the wear and tear on the car, the computer, and the gas, compared to Uber, who takes the money and gets it into my account. I guess they have a problem with their stockholders. The stockholders need to have a big return on their investment, greater than the driver who's providing the service. That's the American way. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. I'd hammer in the evening. I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. So I got like 3 minutes, 54, 55, 56, 57, about 3 minutes before Ed's going to play Dream the Impossible Dream. And the impossible dream that I propose is that we look in the Constitution and see what it says. It doesn't say, well, it was founded on the idea that some men were created equal, slaves, women, and Native Americans not so much. But we got past the slaves having no political existence, rights, or voice. We got past the idea that women weren't really human. And we got past the idea that we could kill and migrate Native Americans at our will, even if they died in the trip, because we needed their land in northern Georgia. Jackson did it, President Jackson. But things were getting to be too good when Nixon signed the law. Nixon signed the law. How much money? What's your money supply? Have you taken bribes? Are you incorporated? Nothing to do with the U.S. Constitution. Nothing to do with liberty, equality, and justice for all. And now we have two people who were not elected. George W. Bush, don't count the votes, and Donald Trump lost the election by 3 million votes. Mitch McConnell refused to give Merrick Garland a hearing because he needed to wait till somebody lost an election, and that person who did not have consent of the governed could support, a criminal could name 3 Supreme Court justices. $50 campaign contribution, give you 15 pages of documents relating to the federal court cases and some big pictures of a van I used to own. If I find out that the Democrats' idea that you could become a candidate with 600 signatures, I will totally back off, because that's fair, but it's never been my experience. My experience has always been, no, you can't advocate constitutional republic. If you play it now, will it run till the end? Okay, run that Dream the Impossible Dream. Let's have a constitutional republic of, by, and for the people. Bring it up strong.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to be better far than you are, to try when your arms are too weary,